It's gonna be nice and hot to play some cornhole or
Sure
bags.
thing. Sure thing. Or bags. Real quick, do you call it cornhole or bags?
I call it cornhole at tournaments, but back at home I say bags.
All right, we'll take it. Bags.
Yeah. So she's got a mix of both.
Right.
So if you're wondering who our next guest is, we're joined by Lexi Hugeback. She is Minnesota's first professional cornhole player. Is that correct?
It is, yes.
So what got you into the game, really?
I was just playing with some family at a campground, and then, you know, we went to some tournaments, traveled a little bit, and the tournaments just got bigger and bigger, and here we are.
Wow. So you're a graduate of Kasson Cornhole, correct?
Yes.
So some of these tournaments that you're going to, are they, talk about some of the local ones before we get on to more of your accomplishments.
Right, so I just played at the Kasson one this last weekend, and then same for Chatfield, kind of like the town festivals. I kind of go to those local tournaments. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
while you're playing in, you know, some of the bigger ones, it's all across the country?
Yes, it's all across the country. Like, you can go from Las Vegas all the way to South Carolina.
Oh, wow. And you've been to both, I assume?
Yes.
So is there a favorite tournament or place that you've traveled to play at?
I liked playing in California.
Okay. Was it, where at in California, do you remember?
I believe it was Los Angeles, maybe? Yeah.
Okay. So how long do these normally run? You mentioned that you're currently in the off season.
Yep, so the typical season is from October to the beginning of August.
Okay, and during that off season right now, kind of how are you keeping sharp? What are you doing?
I'm practicing a lot, putting bags in the hole, down the middle, just keeping that, just keeping me sharp, you know?
Mm-hmm. So give me some advice on an average bags player.
Right.
What should I be working on while I'm just in the backyard, maybe hanging out with some friends? What is some good advice you would give just the average cornhole or bags player at home?
I would practice getting a flat bag and then staying down the middle. That's the biggest thing, because if you're left and right, that allows bumpers for your opponent. So if you're down the middle, that's kind of like a little blockage or like a little roadblock for them. So they have to maneuver their bag around it.
What's a big strategy that you try to use in your tournaments?
I play a lot of defense, so I'm going to put up a block and make my opponent move around it, and then I'll kind of play accordingly.
Now, do you prefer throwing first or throwing second?
I like throwing first, putting my first bag as a blocker in the middle.
Okay.
So when you're talking in the middle, where on the board here, if you could show, where would you be aiming? Kind of like right in here on the logo?
Yep, that's where I would probably aim, and then if I'm putting a block, it'd be probably around right here, which is called a level 1 block.
Mm-hmm. So I guess, is there a strategy of where to hit on the board to get it to slide? Are the boards kind of all the same, or do you have to kind of get a feel for the board before you start going?
So typically, boards should play similar to each other, but when you have different factors of like the AC or like it being hot outside, the boards will play different. You have different bags that can do different things, so every bag has a slow side and a fast side. So if I want to play on a faster board, I'm probably going to grab my stickier bags so they don't fly off the back. Mm-hmm. So you kind of play accordingly with that. So you do have a couple bags here now that you mentioned that. Are these, you mentioned they have a fast side and a slower side. Kind of talk through it. So this here is a BG Wizard. So right here, this is the fast side, and then here is the slower side. This Wizard is faster than this set right here, which is a Mercenary. So logo side up is going to be fast side, and then the other side is the slow side. Wow. And so, Mike, if you want to take a look down at the other board down here, these are pretty far apart, probably a lot farther than what people play in their backyards. Right. How far is regulation? Regulation is 27 feet front to front, 33 hole to hole. Oh, wow. And so...
do you have to throw the bag from behind the board?
Yeah, that's a good question.
A lot of people say that you can step up as long as your front foot's behind. Yep. So like in tournaments, are you throwing from behind the board or on the side of the board? So I'm on the side, and I am like a rhythm person, so I take a step and I release before here. You can't cross this line here. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. See, some people play it differently. That's why.
Yeah. No, it's like you said, you're playing it differently, and then also at these tournaments at the national level, are they more so indoors, are they outdoors, or does it depend as well? They're indoors, just to keep the playing field pretty much the same, so you don't have wind as a factor or things like that. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you like? I'm not a big fan of the wind, just because it can throw your game off, but I have a pretty flat bag, so my bag goes
pretty good through the wind, if that makes sense. Doesn't get no bad cuts or taken by the wind.
Right.
Should we throw some bags?
Sure, we could. The one thing I was going to ask is, so you mentioned that you're a defensive player in bags or cornhole. Yep. You also were a player on RCTC's basketball team that just won the JUCO championship. Is that what you were in basketball too, a defensive player?
I like defense. I mean, it's a momentum shifter for the offense. So, you know, if I get a big block, you know, our bench is going crazy, you know, you're going to get something on offense. You know, defense wins games. So that's what I correlate the two together.
Right. It's a good mentality. So before we go to break here, do you want to show us a couple how you throw? And then we will have another segment here coming up with Lexi where we're going to actually play, and we'll see how good Nick and I actually are.
Okay, let's see it. Just going to line up, little step. Look at it, first one in.
There we go.
All right, that's why she's a pro, right?
Yeah, that's not a good sight for you and me here, Nick,
no,
for our little competition we're going to have here.
Yeah, Zach, I think we're going to struggle.
Yeah, I think so too.
Boards are a little far.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're definitely, I mean, she's
just perfect.
All over.
So now those two ones, you were using the sticky side, right?
Correct. Yes.
Right.